We want to welcome you to the Beyoncé Cowboy Carter Act 2.
Only very few artists has reached a point and a status with which they can do whatever the hell they want and it would still sound good. Beyoncé is on top of that list. Beyoncé's 8th album, Cowboy Carter, is the second installment of a 3-act with which Beyoncé is freaking smashing genres. It's an almost an hour and a half odyssey with lots of ballads and acoustics. Beyoncé was able to seamlessly blend all types of genres: dance, pop, country, funk, soul, psychedelic, and even opera. The vocal arrangement and genre smashing in Cowboy Carter is insane. It feels like Beyoncé's White Album. This album is Beyoncé's way of asserting herself and Black women in a genre dominated by white men, although it was created by Black people. When you listen to the term country music, you associate it with white men, long hair, long beard, Texas accent, white boots. Although the roots of country music has always been created by Black people. Beyoncé was able to successfully incorporate lots of huge names, influences, and samples from great artists. We have Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, Linda Martell, Beach Boys, The Beatles, along with very harmonical and melodic collaborations with Miley Cyrus and Post Malone, who both have very deep respect or roots in the country genre. With Miley Cyrus's family, including Billy Ray Cyrus and Dolly Parton, and Post Malone has always expressed his deep admiration towards country music. He has always said that he wanted to be a country musician and he wanted to kind of continue the legacy of someone like Bob Dylan. So Beyoncé was able to infiltrate this genre and Beyoncéified it to her own ways and paths. When it was first announced that Cowboy Carter might be a country album, Beyoncé was faced with a lot of backlash. People thought this is a step backwards and she should focus on creating something like Renaissance. But because, as I mentioned, Beyoncé is a legend, she was able to do whatever she wants and she is still successful at it. The album has lots of genres and voices and collaborations that just blend in very seamlessly and camouflaging in a very Beyoncé way. Cowboy Carter is experimental, it's brave, it's theatrical, it's operatic, it's everything you would expect from a legend like Beyoncé. Let's talk about some of the songs. Of course, I'm not going to be able to cover all of them because there are 27 tracks on this almost an hour and a half album, but I will talk about most of them. The first track on the album is American Dream, which is a crazy gospel-like stadium chant type of song. It's an epic intro and a segue to the album. And she kind of asks very cool and rhetorical questions like, is this too country? Is this not country enough? If this ain't country, what is? And of course it has crazy vocalization, which is a term you will be hearing a lot. Second song on the album is the first cover on the album, which is The Beatles' Blackbird or Paul McCartney's Blackbird. At the beginning, when I initially heard the album, I was questioning the position of this song. However, when I re-listened to the album a few times, I just think this is a perfect introduction, subject-wise and musically. It would be a dream to listen to Beyoncé covering some of the most iconic songs, and Blackbird was certainly one of them. The song included a lot of choir and a cappella. It was very country, very minimal, but it just said a lot. 16 Carriages was one of the 2 singles that was released before the album's release, and this song is vocal and breath gymnastics. It has a very catchy rhythm, very catchy melody, and the continuous rise in vocal and rise in the way she delivers her line is breathtaking. It feels like a theatrical performance, just a monologue in front of the audience of someone just giving away all of their troubles and problems and traumas. And the subject matter is very personal. Beyoncé discusses how she entered the music industry very early on in her career and how this helped shape her personality to be the person that she is. She has gone through a lot of trauma and it was so demanding and it changed the way that she sees things forever. She talks about how it's very hard to hustle and balance between all of the aspects in her life, family-wise, work-wise, art-wise, passion-wise. Such a well-written song. Protector includes an intro from Rumi Carter, Beyoncé's child, and this is a pattern that has been going on lately with Drake's son and Kanye West's daughter and Travis Scott's daughter. All of these huge names kind of silently agreed to add their children in their latest albums. And in Protector, Beyoncé again goes personal. She talks about motherhood and the greatness of it and the burden of it. And her mother instincts shine in this ballad. She intimately describes her feelings as a mother, how motherhood is one of the things that she derives her self-worth and her value from. Because seeing the way she's successful with her children and how her children came up to be the people that they are, this is a direct reflection and a mirror to the person that she is. And she promises her children that she will always be there for them. She will always protect them, even if they are grown up and they don't need this protection anymore. My Rose is an interlude and a kind of a hug for Beyoncé, for me, for all the listeners, that we're all doing our best to survive, that we're all just doing good. The soft and breathy delivery of the lines just adds to the feeling of a hug. Smoke Hour and Smoke Hour 2 are both interludes in the album, and they are kind of simulating a radio and you're changing the radio channels. It is performed by Willie Nelson, and it reminded me of Jim Carrey's insertion in The Weeknd's album, how it felt like you are literally flipping through a radio and this is the channel that you landed on. It's a very cool choice. It adds to the atmosphere of the album, and it has lots of references like Roy Hamilton, Chuck Berry, Son House, Sister Rosetta. I'm not so big on interludes in general. I just think they kind of snap me out of the mood, and with a lot of interludes throughout your album, you're kind of just elongating the track list with not much of input or value, but I really didn't mind it this time. Texas Hold'em is another single that was released before the album's release, and this song was specifically challenging to kind of fathom it when it was first released because it was just too surprising. It's too country, it's too western, it has southern instruments like viola and banjo, but Texas Hold'em made Beyoncé the first black woman to have a #1 single in hot country songs. Bodyguard is a very cool song with lots of chill and different vibes than the rest of the previous songs. It has a killer guitar solo, and then we're met with another intervention from Dolly Parton. And its position between Bodyguard and Jolene is genius, because in Bodyguard, Beyoncé is kind of asserting herself as a bodyguard to her man, to her family, and she will not let anything kind of mess with it. And in Jolene, Beyoncé made a different interpretation or a different spin on the original Jolene, where she is kind of being a predator to any person who wants to ruin her family. While in the OG Jolene by Dolly Parton, it was kind of a very honest song about a vulnerable woman begging another woman to just leave her man alone because this is ruining her and it's ruining her family and she cannot live without this person. And I've always loved Jolene. I think it's a very honest and just too intimate of a song. It's about someone who's begging someone to just leave their family alone, and they're relying that they will forgive this person and forgive her husband just so she can live life the way that it is currently. Beyonce's spin on this song is something else. It's someone showing their teeth. It's a predator. She is a strong woman, and she's not just asking, she's warning, she's threatening the other woman that her man and her house and her family are off limits. And Queen Bee's vocals on this song is something else. With Blackbird and now Jolene, two of the most famous and beloved country songs, Beyoncé was able to put her own fingerprints on both songs, and there is a Beyoncé's Jolene and a Beyoncé's Blackbird. Next up, we have Daughter, which is one of the most important songs on the album because Beyoncé gets too personal. She shares her inner conflict and issues of being associated with her father and how some of her father's traits will always be in her blood, and that it's too overwhelming to be aware of all of the threats that can harm her or her family. It has acoustic guitars and it's a very experimental song. And you know what's very freaking cool? That Beyoncé sings opera. In this opera piece, Beyoncé just pours her heart out. This specific piece of music discusses the themes of loneliness and struggling to be who you are. This song starts as a very quiet, intimate confession time with Beyoncé and moves to like very loud, very strong Italian opera, and then goes back again to praying to God to control her intrusive thoughts. Spaghetti is the weirdest song on the album. Genre-wise, it's crazy, it's hip-hop, it's rap, and this song is a statement that Beyoncé will refuse to be boxed and constrained in a certain genre. because she can do whatever she wants. If she wants to make a hip-hop song in a country album, she can do it. If she wants to rap, like hardcore rap in a country album, she can do that. Alligator Tears is a very cool song. Instrumentally and vocally, it's nothing new. It's very cool. It's very interesting, but it's not so much of an addition to the album. Beyoncé discusses the burden of emotions that you get when you understand that you can go above and beyond for your partner, but he is not doing the same. And when you guys communicate, you have this gut feeling that he isn't sincere about what he's saying. Just for Fun is another just average song. It's a cool song. With Beyonce's vocals, it's very hard to just not like a song, but I just feel it's an unnecessary addition to the album. Beyoncé talks about the idea of healing from traumas or crises and how this is very hard to do when you are too famous. In Two Most Wanted, we have Miley Cyrus's collaboration with Beyoncé. And this is a collaboration you didn't know that you need, because Miley's vocals are insane and Beyoncé's vocals are even more insane. And they both just melodically and harmonically just blend in together in kind of a Fleetwood Mac inspired type of song. This song is a lot. It's so demanding. The first time I listened to it, I just felt that it's too minimal. It doesn't have much going on, but then when I listened to it a few times, I understood that the vocals are the main characters of this song. And the more I listen to it, the more I'm obsessed with it. Miley Cyrus has deep roots in country music and she has a voice that's just uncanny. And blending it with someone who has just an otherworldly type of voice like Beyoncé, it's a creation of kind of a jam session with which each and every single line blends in perfectly, and they go line by line, like a Beyoncé line, then a Miley Cyrus line, then a Beyoncé line, and it's just so beautifully crafted together. And then we have Levi's Jeans, a collaboration with Post Malone. Post Malone is an interesting artist because he has always expressed his love and admiration towards country music and that this is what he wants to do. He has always expressed that he loves Bob Dylan and he would love to be someone like him vocally and lyrically. And in this song, just Beyoncé and Post Malone have another back and forth jam session. Just like Miley Cyrus's input, they juggle the lines between each other and they blend country with pop. Post Malone in this song has almost no auto-tune, and for the first time you can kind of listen to what his voice actually is. Riverdance is an amazing song with lots of loops and guitars, and it's the song that reminded me the most of Renaissance because it feels like it's in the sweet spot between both albums. It also has a little bit of house music type of inspiration. YAYA is one of the most experimental songs on the album. It has lots of grooves and it feels like a psychedelic soul-like type of song. And it has lots of references like Nancy Sinatra's These Boots Are Made for Walking and the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations. Beyoncé was able to create her own white album. I genuinely can't find a better adjective than this because it's just a buffet of songs. It's a huge amount of songs, 27 tracks, an hour and a half. That's a lot. And this type of album, this type of structure, and this type of segue into a completely other genre, it is a recipe for failure. If I'm being honest, it's a recipe for failure. But with Beyoncé, because she is an excellent artist, she knows how to write, she knows how to sing, she knows how to produce, and she knows how to lead. And someone as powerful as Beyoncé is the only person who can revive country genre in terms of including more Black women. Incorporating and collaborating and involving lots of country musicians is a great technique to use in her album because she chose either country icons or country enthusiasts and lovers and people who have roots in this genre. And artists in general, when you are that long in the industry, it's very hard to survive because people will solely rely on the hits and singles that you did before and no one would want to listen to your new albums. This is why you have to change your skin and camouflage and kind of challenge yourself into new genres, into new types of music. If you kept doing the same thing and kind of relying on what people will like, if Beyoncé chose to make Renaissance again and Renaissance again, then we wouldn't see Beyoncé evolving and we wouldn't see Beyoncé kind of claiming genres. It is said that the third installment would be a rock and roll album. And yes, I've seen a lot of rock and roll touches in this album, and I would be so freaking interested into listening to a rock and roll Beyonce album. Beyonce is weaponized by her love of music because she loves music so much. She knows how to give music the love and passion and focus it deserves. Honestly, I wouldn't think of another artist who will be able to kind of enter the country genre and kind of sweep it away and make it his own and his people's. If each powerful artist kind of used their power and used their influences to revive genres or assert certain ideas or certain notions, this is why musicians have power, because they have to be influential. Overall, I loved Cowboy Carter. I loved Renaissance. I love what Beyonce is going for. And this woman has carved her legendary status in the music industry years ago, but she's just continuing her streak of successes.